there's a thing, and I finally read it. A captain clued me in on it because we all do this. You can be the best person in the world, but if somebody treats you badly, wall goes up, and then arrows come out, and you might start slinging a couple of your own because it makes you feel better to defend yourself. Nobody wants to be beat up,
right?
So we all want to defend ourselves a little bit. So you would notice the passive aggressive come out a little bit. Is you're sitting in the right seat and someone's being mean to you. You know what? I see that he has, and this is bad for safety too, is you see a problem going on. Well, I could say something now and it will avert all things, and it's not going to crash the plane.
Right.
But I see it and I go, well, that'll be awkward if I let him get to this point, and then he'll discover it himself, or he'll look bad in front of me. And then I'm not a big on that, and normally I would never do that. But I see it coming, know I can do it, and then I don't do it. But other people, I've been making mistakes, and apparently I crossed them somewhere, or some people sit there wishing they were sitting in my seat, and they're resentful. Like,
whoa, yeah.
Because one guy said to me, he goes, Glenn, it's not just bad captains. He goes, there's some nasty FOs too. And I went, yeah, that makes sense. Where would the bad captains come from? But here's the deal. He said, some people, like you had said, can't help it.
Yeah.
They just can't help it. So he clued me in on this book. It's called Nasty People, and the author is Jay Carter. And I say that out loud on purpose so people will look it up.
Yeah, go get it.
The poor guy, not poor guy, but he was a psychology major. He was a psychologist, acting psychologist. He's working on his PhD, and it was his thesis for his PhD. That's all in the book. And in the preface, he says he didn't even want to write the book, but his college professor said, you need to write this down. You've discovered the cure for cancer in the social world here. And he identified these people as, he called them invalidators. And so you're flying the plane, and they keep pointing out all your mistakes in a hostile way. But and I found it very punitive when people would do that, and it would just bring me down. It was one in particular. Finally, I'm exasperated. I'm like,
oh my God.
And we got to the gate. I saved the gate. I go, hey, you know what? It's just too much. Oh, am I correcting you too soon? I go, no, it's just too much. I'm pretty new, and I cannot absorb all the information you have. Well, the thing is, he was boosting himself up at my expense. But the real kicker is they don't know they're doing it. And just like you said, somebody doesn't know they're developing a reputation. They can't help it. 95% of the time, they don't know they're doing it.
They don't know.
And they can't help it. And this guy who was a psychologist, he said he had a woman that he was treating, and her husband was that way to her. And he kept working with her, He was the one that needed the work. And ultimately, she committed suicide. Because it was such a caustic, hostile environment that she lived in.
Right.
She couldn't take it anymore. And that was part of what inspired him to finally write this book, to write it down. He's written several books since then.
Nasty People.
So Nasty People by Jay Carter, and you have these people who are invalidators that boost themselves up at your expense. But what happened is, after I read the book, then I could recognize the behavior, and instead of feeling hurt and defending myself, I realized it wasn't really my problem, and he wasn't really being mean to me intentionally.
Right.
He couldn't help himself.
He couldn't.
So,
which doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't make it right, but I would watch it, and then I would mitigate the problem myself without doing it back, because that's another risk, is doing it back, and you'll fall into the same trap. Is you can't do it back and just understand it and tolerate it. And then, you know what? Maybe in the future, find a way to trade out of that trip or not fly with that person.
Yeah, that's just part of it.
Ultimately, you would like to think they would get it. Maybe you can, in a nice way over dinner, say, you do this thing pretty regular, and it's kind of hurtful. And they might get it, or they might not.
That's tough. That's so much easier said than done, I think, when it comes to...
Yeah, you talked about it being we all fly the plane, but it becomes very personality-driven. And your goal should be, one, keep it amenable. Two, you want to be like the dynamic duo. You want to be an awesome team.
Right.
And so have open communication and draw on each other's strengths and operate the plane, obviously, in a completely safe manner, and then go to dinner, and drinks the next night and have a big yuck and the fun.
Right.
And it would be type 1 fun and type 2 fun.
Type 1 and type 2.
Yeah.
I love it.